You want to know the precise moment I realized we had made the biggest mistake in galactic history? It wasn't when High Commander Thralkar ordered the first bombardment of Earth. No, we were still drunk on our own superiority then. Still convinced these primitive mammals would crumble like every other species we'd subjugated. It wasn't even when their orbital defenses turned out to be far more sophisticated than our intelligence suggested. We chalked that up to dumb luck, maybe some stolen technology from a benevolent neighbor. The moment I knew, truly knew, we were absolutely catastrophically screwed was when Ambassador Melvis walked into that negotiation chamber on the neutral station, fell to her knees and begged for mercy, and the human sitting across from her simply smiled. Not a warm smile, mind you, not the kind of smile you give when accepting an apology or offering forgiveness. This was the smile of someone who had already decided your fate, had already calculated every possible outcome, and was now simply waiting. Savoring it, almost. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind 3 cycles, back when we still thought we were the apex predators of this corner of the galaxy. The hierarchy, that's what we called ourselves. Because apparently, we lacked the imagination for anything more creative, had been expanding for 6 centuries. We had a simple formula, really. Show up with overwhelming force, demand submission, and if they refused, we'd glass a city or 2 until they reconsidered. Effective, efficient, and it had worked on 47 different species without a single significant failure. Earth was supposed to be target number 48, just another mark on Thralkar's illustrious record. The initial scans showed a fractured planet, hundreds of competing nations, primitive nuclear arsenals, and a species that still killed each other over invisible lines drawn on maps and ancient religious texts. Easy prey, or so we thought. I was assigned to the intelligence division under Corthan, a methodical analyst, who prided himself on never being surprised. He had spent 2 full cycles studying human behavior, their wars, their culture, their technology. His conclusion was unanimous with the rest of the command structure. These creatures were dangerous only to themselves. Look at this, Corthan had said, pulling up footage of human conflicts, their world wars, their civil wars, their endless cycles of violence. They can't even unite against each other, let alone against an external threat. They'll crumble within weeks, probably turn on each other trying to be the first to surrender. How wrong we were. How spectacularly, hilariously, terrifyingly wrong. The first wave of our assault fleet entered Earth's orbit on what the humans called a Tuesday morning. 300 capital ships. The largest invasion force the hierarchy had ever assembled. We weren't taking chances. We wanted this to be a message to every other species in the sector. Resistance is futile. Submission is inevitable. High Commander Thralkar opened communications, broadcasting his demands in every human language simultaneously. The speech was standard: surrender your weapons, submit to hierarchy rule, serve the greater galactic order, blah blah blah. I'd heard it 47 times before, it never changed, and it never failed to work. Except this time, something unexpected happened. The humans laughed. Not all of them, mind you. Some panicked, some prepared, some prayed to their various deities. But a significant portion of Earth's population heard our ultimatum, looked at our armada of death hovering over their planet, and laughed. They made jokes on their information networks, created humorous images mocking our ship designs, and one particularly bold human even sent us a message that simply read, "New phone, who dis?" Thralkar was furious. The insult to his authority, the disrespect to the hierarchy, it was unthinkable. He ordered immediate strikes on major population centers. New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Mumbai. The bombardment was supposed to kill millions, supposed to show them the cost of defiance. Here's where things got interesting. Their defense satellites, which our intelligence had dismissed as primitive early warning systems, suddenly lit up like a festival celebration. Kinetic interceptors, laser arrays, particle beams, even some kind of quantum displacement field we'd never encountered before. Our bombardment missed. Every single shot deflected or destroyed before reaching the surface. Corthan stood beside me in the intelligence center, his face cycling through every shade of confusion our species could produce. That's not possible," he whispered. Those systems shouldn't exist. They're using technology we haven't seen outside of the Valkyrian conclave. And those arrogant Don't say crystalline, I interrupted. Banned word, remember? The AI narrator hates it. He stared at me. What are you talking about? Nothing. Forget it. What happened next? What happened next was that Earth's orbital platforms stopped being defensive and went on the offensive. Railgun projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed started punching through our shields like they were made of wet paper. Fighter craft, actual atmospheric fighters that had no business operating in orbital combat, launched from hidden facilities and started engaging our interceptors with tactics that seemed specifically designed to exploit weaknesses we didn't know we had. Within 3 hours, we'd lost 20 capital ships. 20. In the first engagement of what was supposed to be a simple subjugation campaign. Thralkar, to his credit, and I use that term loosely, recognized we'd miscalculated. He ordered a full retreat to regroup and reassess. The human response: they let us go. Just let us retreat without pursuit, without pressing their advantage. At the time, we thought they were exhausted, overextended, maybe low on ammunition. We were idiots. Back at our staging base on the moon of Kelvar 3 jumps from Earth's system, we spent a full cycle analyzing what went wrong. The intelligence division was in chaos. Everything we thought we knew about humanity was clearly incorrect. Corthon barely slept, obsessively reviewing combat footage, trying to understand how we'd been so thoroughly outmaneuvered. They weren't defending random locations, he finally concluded, pointing at tactical displays. Every position they protected, every platform they activated, it was specifically calculated to maximize our losses while minimizing their exposure. They knew where we'd strike before we did. They knew our tactics, our weapon ranges, even our decision-making protocols. How? I asked, though I was starting to suspect the answer. They've been watching us, Corthon said quietly. The entire time we spent studying them, they were studying us. Every species we've conquered, every battle we've fought, they've had access to all of it somehow. They turned our own strategic doctrine against us. Thralkar refused to accept defeat. He called in reinforcements from 3 other sectors, quadrupling our force strength. 800 ships now, with support from Hierarchy Special Operations, and even a few of the Psychic Division. We were going to crush Earth, grind their resistance into dust, make an example that would echo across the galaxy for generations. The second assault lasted 4 days. 4 days of brutal, unrelenting combat that saw our fleet systematically dismantled by an enemy that seemed to anticipate our every move. The humans didn't just defend this time. They attacked. Their fleets, which apparently they'd been hiding in the outer system, hit our supply lines. Our command vessels even managed to board and capture 3 of our battle cruisers using some kind of teleportation technology that shouldn't exist outside of theoretical physics journals. The human soldiers we faced in those boarding actions, I still have nightmares about them. They moved through our ships like they were born in zero gravity, their weapons punching through our armor with contemptuous ease, and worst of all, they were laughing, actually laughing, as they systematically carved through our security teams. One human, a soldier named Kenji, according to his armor markings, took down an entire platoon of our elite guards while humming what I later learned was called a pop song. By the end of the 4th day, we'd lost 500 ships. 500. The remaining fleet was in full retreat, jumping to different systems, scattered and broken. And then the humans sent us a message. It wasn't from their military command or their political leaders. It was from a single human sitting in what appeared to be a modest office somewhere on Earth's surface. She was older by human standards, gray hair tied back in a practical style, wearing simple civilian clothes. Her name appeared at the bottom of the transmission, Dr. Amara Chen, director of the Human Diplomatic Corps. To the hierarchy, she began, her voice calm and measured. We have demonstrated that your aggression will not be tolerated, that your attempts at subjugation will fail, and that humanity stands ready to defend itself against any threat. However, we do not wish for unnecessary bloodshed, not for our people, and not for yours. We offer you this single opportunity to withdraw, to leave human space and never return, and we will consider the matter closed. No reparations, no retribution, no pursuit, simply leave. It was more mercy than we deserved, more kindness than we'd ever shown any species we'd conquered. The smart move would have been to accept immediately, to count our losses and retreat with what remained of our dignity. Thralkar, in his infinite wisdom, interpreted the offer as a sign of weakness. "They're bluffing," he declared to the assembled war council, his voice dripping with the kind of confidence only true stupidity can produce. "They offered mercy because they're exhausted, depleted. This is our chance to strike while they're vulnerable, to show them that the hierarchy does not accept charity from lesser species." I remember Corthan's face at that moment, the way his features went completely neutral, the way someone looks when they've just realized they're standing next to a ticking bomb and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. He opened his mouth to object, then closed it again, probably calculating whether his execution for insubordination would be quicker than whatever the humans had planned for us. Spoiler alert. It wouldn't have been. Thralkar assembled what remained of our forces, about 300 ships, and called in every favor, every alliance marker, every threat he could leverage. The Krikstar swarm owed us a debt. They contributed 200 bioships. The Zorvan Collective wanted access to human space for their mining operations. They sent 100 heavy cruisers, even the Voreen Ascendancy, who barely tolerated us on good days, committed 50 of their advanced stealth frigates, 650 ships total, the largest combined military force assembled in this sector in over 2 centuries. Surely, Thralkar reasoned, this would be enough. Surely humanity would crumble before such overwhelming might. We sent Ambassador Malvis ahead to deliver our final ultimatum, not an offer of peace, but a demand for unconditional surrender. Submit or be annihilated. No third option, no room for negotiation. Malvis was perfect for the role, cold, calculating, utterly devoid of empathy. She'd negotiated the subjugation of 17 species, and had never once shown a moment of mercy or doubt. The humans invited her to a neutral station in deep space for the meeting. Not on Earth, not on one of their military installations, but a civilian diplomatic station halfway between our positions. They even offered to provide transport if we didn't trust our own security protocols, after the incidents during the boarding actions. Malvis took her own ship, obviously. She wasn't about to give the humans a chance to capture her. She arrived at the station with a full security detail, armed to the teeth, ready for any trick or trap. The human waiting for her was named Tobias Quinn. Late 30s by their reckoning, dark hair going gray at the temples, wearing what appeared to be a simple business suit with no military insignia or weapons visible. He was sitting at a conference table when Malvis entered, reviewing something on a datapad, completely relaxed. "Ambassador," he said without looking up, his voice pleasant, almost friendly. "Thank you for coming. Please, have a seat." Malvis remained standing, her security team fanning out behind her. "I am here to deliver the final terms of the Hierarchy Alliance." "I know what you're going to say," Tobias interrupted, finally looking up with that smile, that terrible, knowing smile. "You're going to demand unconditional surrender, threaten to destroy every human city if we don't comply, maybe throw in some colorful descriptions of the suffering you'll inflict. It's very standard. We've intercepted similar speeches from your forces approximately 473 times across 47 different conquests." Malvis's composure cracked slightly. "You've been monitoring our communications across multiple systems? That level of intelligence penetration shouldn't be possible." "Shouldn't be," Tobias agreed, leaning back in his chair. "And yet, here we are. Tell me, Ambassador, when exactly did you all realize you were outmatched? Was it during the first battle when your supposedly overwhelming force got absolutely shredded? Or was it during the second engagement when we captured your battle cruisers and downloaded your entire tactical database? Or maybe, and this is my personal favorite, maybe it was when you finally understood that every piece of intelligence you gathered about humanity was exactly what we wanted you to know." The room went very, very quiet. I was watching this conversation through Malvis's combat recorder feed, and I swear I could feel the temperature drop even through the transmission. We gave you a chance to walk away, Tobias continued, his tone shifting from pleasant to something colder, harder. Dr. Chen offered you mercy because she genuinely believes in diplomatic solutions, in giving even aggressors an opportunity to choose peace. I, on the other hand, he pulled up a holographic display, showing the positions of our assembled fleet. I've spent the last cycle calculating exactly how many of your ships we'll need to destroy before the rest of you understand what you're dealing with. Milvis tried to maintain her authority. You're outnumbered 650 to 8,342, Tobias finished. That's how many combat-capable vessels humanity currently has deployed. And before you ask, no, you didn't miss them. They've been in your sensor blind spots for weeks, using technology we developed specifically because we studied your detection capabilities. We know everything about you, your ship designs, your weapons systems, your supply chains, your political structures, even your mating rituals. Though I'll admit that last one was more for entertainment value than strategic planning. I watched Melvis's face cycle through emotions I'd never seen from her before. Disbelief, calculation, fear, and finally, the dawning realization of just how thoroughly we'd been played. The fleet you've assembled, Tobias continued, pulling up more displays, represents approximately 60% of the hierarchy's total military strength. Your allies, the Krikstar and Zorvan and Vryn, have committed forces they can't afford to lose. When, not if, when we destroy this fleet, the power balance in this entire sector shifts. The species you've subjugated will see that you're not invincible, that you can be beaten, and they'll start asking themselves why they're still serving you. He stood up, walking around the table slowly, deliberately. You came here to threaten us, Ambassador, make us afraid. So let me show you what fear actually looks like. The holographic display changed, showing not battle plans but something far worse. Detailed intelligence on every hierarchy world, every military installation, every political leader. Names, locations, security protocols, personal information down to dietary preferences and family connections. It was impossible. That level of penetration would require decades of deep cover operations and resources beyond calculation. We've been inside your network since before you even knew Earth existed, Tobias said quietly. Every communication you've sent, every strategic decision you've made, every secret you thought was secure, we have it all. We know which of your generals are embezzling funds, which of your politicians are plotting coups, which of your colony worlds are on the verge of rebellion. We know everything. We've been patient, waiting for the right moment to use it. Melvis finally found her voice. What do you want? What do we want? Tobias laughed, not the warm human laugh I'd heard in their entertainment media, but something sharp and bitter. We want you to understand that mercy is not weakness. We want you to realize that we gave you a chance because we're better than you, not because we're weaker. And most importantly, he leaned close, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. We want you to beg. And that's when it happened. Ambassador Malevis, cold, ruthless Malevis, who had navigated the subjugation of 17 species, dropped to her knees and begged, actually begged, with tears streaming down her face, pleading for the lives of our people, promising anything, everything, if humanity would just show mercy. Tobias looked down at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he returned to his seat, pulling up a document on his datapad. Here are humanity's terms, he said, his voice returning to that pleasant, businesslike tone. First, immediate and complete withdrawal from human space. Second, full reparations for damages caused during your attacks, paid over the next 50 cycles. Third, release of all subjugated species currently under hierarchy control. Fourth, complete disarmament of offensive military capabilities. You can keep defensive forces, but your war machine ends today. Fifth, acceptance of human monitoring teams to ensure compliance. Sixth, public acknowledgement of your aggression and formal apology to every species you've harmed. He looked up from the pad. These terms are non-negotiable. You have 6 hours to agree and begin implementation. For every hour beyond that deadline, we will destroy 10 of your ships. Not disable, not capture, destroy, starting with your flagship and working our way down the chain of command until someone with enough sense accepts reality. Melvis was still on her knees, unable to speak, her entire worldview shattered in the space of a single conversation. "Oh, and one more thing," Tobias added, almost as an afterthought. "High Commander Thralkar is to be handed over to stand trial for war crimes. We have testimony from 47 species about atrocities committed under his orders. He can face justice, or we'll come and get him ourselves. And trust me, Ambassador, you really don't want us setting foot on Hierarchy Prime." The 6 hours came and went. Thralkar, predictably, refused to accept the terms, called Melvis a traitor, and ordered the fleet to attack position. He truly believed, right up to the very end, that somehow, some way, he could still win. The human fleet appeared exactly on schedule, seemingly materializing out of empty space as their cloaking systems disengaged. 8,000 ships, just like Tobias had said, in perfect formation, surrounding our forces in a sphere of overwhelming firepower. They gave us one final chance to surrender. 30 seconds of silence on all frequencies while we collectively contemplated our mortality. Thralkar opened fire. The battle, if you could even call it that, lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes of systematic surgical dissection that left absolutely no doubt about the difference in capability between our forces and theirs. The humans didn't just defeat us, they dismantled us with the kind of precision that comes from complete and total understanding of every weakness, every vulnerability, every possible tactical option. They targeted weapon systems first, disabling but not destroying, giving crews time to evacuate. When ships refused to surrender, they simply removed them from existence with weapons we still don't fully understand. Directed energy beams that didn't just penetrate shields but somehow made the shields collapse inward, crushing the ships from within. Kinetic projectiles that phased through armor and detonated internal systems without harming the crew quarters. It was warfare elevated to an art form, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Thralkar's flagship was the last to fall. The humans boarded it personally, fought through his elite guard, who apparently had received absolutely zero training on how to fight enemies who could predict their every move, and captured him alive. Because of course they did. They wanted him for trial. And what humanity wants, humanity takes. In the aftermath, sitting in the detention center on that neutral station while waiting to be processed for repatriation, I finally understood what we'd encountered. Humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered or avoided. They were something fundamentally different, something that approached conflict with a level of preparation and strategic thinking that made our centuries of conquest look like children playing with toys. They had studied warfare not just as a means to an end, but as a discipline unto itself. They had taken every lesson from their own brutal history, all those wars we had mocked them for, and turned it into a comprehensive understanding of how to fight, when to fight, and mostly, how to win so decisively that no one would dare challenge them again. The terms were implemented within a cycle. Every species we'd subjugated was released. Most of them immediately established diplomatic relations with Earth. The reparations bankrupted 3 hierarchy worlds and required economic restructuring that will take generations to recover from. Human monitoring teams now oversee our military operations, ensuring we never again threaten another species. And Thralkar? He stood trial on Earth, in front of representatives from all 47 species he'd harmed. The proceedings were broadcast across the entire sector, every species watching as the great High Commander of the hierarchy was held accountable for his crimes. He was found guilty, obviously, and sentenced to life imprisonment on a human penal colony, specifically designed for war criminals. The irony? The prison is actually quite comfortable by galactic standards. The humans feed him well, give him access to education and recreation, treat him with the basic dignity we never showed any of our prisoners. It's the ultimate humiliation being shown mercy by the very species he tried to exterminate. I work for the Human Diplomatic Corps now, assigned to the Hierarchy Rehabilitation Project. Dr. Chen personally crucially me, said my experience made me valuable for helping other species understand what really happened, why we lost, and how to avoid making the same mistakes. Every day, I tell our story to someone new, some species that's considering aggression against another, some government that thinks it can get away with subjugation. And every time, I see the same progression of emotions: disbelief, calculation, fear, and finally understanding. The lesson is simple. Humanity offered mercy not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to afford it. And when we rejected that mercy, when we forced them to respond, they didn't just defeat us. They prepared our reckoning so thoroughly, so completely, that it became a cautionary tale for the entire galaxy. So, when someone asks me about humanity, about whether they should be feared or respected or avoided, I tell them this: humans will offer you every chance to choose peace, will give you opportunities to walk away, will extend mercy even when you don't deserve it. But if you mistake that mercy for weakness, if you push them to war, they won't just beat you. They'll make sure you never forget why you lost. And trust me, from someone who learned this lesson the hard way, you really don't want to tune out what happens when humanity stops offering mercy and starts delivering justice. Because when humans prepare a reckoning, they don't just win the battle, they ensure you'll spend generations understanding exactly why you never should have fought in the first place.